All right, now Parliament's first female Serjeant-at-Arms is bowing out gracefully. Yesterday, members of Parliament said goodbye to Regina Mohlomi, who is due to retire this year after 8 years in the post. Now, for 8 years, she's carried the mace, which is the symbol of authority of the Speaker of the National Assembly, and she has led the President and Presiding Officers into the chambers. She's also the person who has to escort MPs out of the House after they've been evicted. An EFF member commended her yesterday, saying she approached them gently when she asked them to leave. Well, we're very happy to be joined by Regina Mohlomi, the outgoing Serjeant-at-Arms of Parliament. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Mohlomi. You were a teacher once. You were once a shop steward of a union. Just take us back and tell us how you landed up becoming the first female Serjeant-at-Arms in Parliament in 2011.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here. I was a school teacher at Kanyalisedi High School in a small township called Ratanda, and at some point I saw an advert. They were looking for a labor relations officer at Parliament. I applied because I wanted to see that this is really happening. I forgot about the advertisement because it took so long, but I remember that in December 1996, I was on school holiday at my mom's house, and when I got the call that I got the job as Senior Labor Relations Officer, I started at Parliament in January of 1996. I left teaching with a very heavy heart because at the core of my being, I'm a teacher. I teach, and that's what I do. And I probably have done that at Parliament over the number of years that I've been there.
Well, you've been teaching young people what the symbols are about, haven't you, even during your time in Parliament?
Well, yes. When young people come to Parliament on tours, I was engaged to speak to them. Many times I just plonked myself in front of them with uninvited, but many times when, especially the younger children from primary schools, they come during the school holidays and I would speak to them about it. Not only young people, but also adults who came and asked the questions. My deputy and I actually did do a number of presentations about Parliament and the mace and the National Assembly and the NCOP and what all that meant.
You carry the symbol now of statehood, well you have, which is the mace. Someone said yesterday you don't only embody the values and ideals represented by the House, but you demonstrate them as well. Is that a fair description? Do you have a love of, I guess, what National Parliament stands for, democracy and the decorum about it as well?
Yeah, I think that really it's a privilege to be placed in a position where you embody an idea, you embody the values, possibly even of a nation. I have done this because it represents who we are. The mace itself is a symbol, actually a symbol of peace. When you look at it, you see how it tells us about how South Africa became a free country, and it was done peacefully. So that carried me all this time as I was carrying this heavy stuff. It carried me because it symbolizes that the National Assembly is now in session and the authority of the Speaker is in place. But then here you are as South Africans telling them, here is your Parliament, it's sitting, it's going to be talking about your issues. So yes, that was indeed quite a privilege.
But Ms. Mohlomi, you have been the Serjeant-at-Arms during years where many felt that decorum was lost, that authority of the Speaker was lost. Did that sadden you?
I must say it did sadden me. But as an official of Parliament, you know, you have to learn to accept that it is not about you. That members of Parliament have got to be left to do their thing. I have a role, and I know what that role is, and I know where it starts and ends. I am not the Serjeant-at-Arms without the Speaker of the National Assembly. So I couldn't just go and do my own thing. It was saddening, it was worrying, it was really a difficult time because we were not used to that. We used to have very peaceful and procedural sittings of the National Assembly before then. So this caught us, actually, it caught us unprepared.
Yeah. Well, can we go back to 2014? The EFF has praised you for being gentle, but that was a time when the party was telling President Zuma then to pay back the money. The Speaker said they must leave. You approached EFF leader Julius Malema. He said the EFF wasn't going anywhere. Just explain us what that was like. What do you do in a situation like that as the Serjeant-at-Arms?
Every time I feel or experience the temperature of the house rising, I sit right at the back of the chamber on the floor of the house. And every time it happens, when I realize the temperature is rising, I must prepare myself, and emotionally, really, it has been very, very heavy. But what it means is that I will only approach members of parliament at the instruction of the Speaker. I go to the person that I have been referred to, and I would ask them, repeat actually what the Speaker has said, but then tell them that you have to leave the house for this reason and that reason. And if they do not want, or they respond by saying, I go nowhere, I have to go back to the Speaker and actually tell the Speaker what else they have said, and make sure that that message that the member is saying they will not leave the house is very, very clear.
And then the police get involved, or the uniformed officers. There were actual scuffles, there were actual blows. Were you ever involved in anything like that in Parliament?
Fortunately not. It is not my role as the Serjeant-at-Arms. There are people, protection services people, whose job it is to evict members.
Ms. Mohlomi, have you noticed a change? So you've been there when a new administration came in, compared to 2011, compared to the times when Parliament was jamming signals. That's been found to be illegal. And recently, how would you rate the decorum across those time periods?
The decorum seems to be going back to what we are used to. Even though we have all of this experience and this history, or this recent history at the back of our minds, but the decorum seems to be going back to where we were. And for those people who are supporting the members in the chamber, the procedural staff and the chamber assistants who work with the members during sittings, it is a much more peaceful kind of situation, because you are able to concentrate on the work that needs to be done. Before, when all of these things happen, you sort of miss a step, because I have to concentrate on the procedure. For example, if there is a vote that must happen, the people who are responsible on the floor of the House must make sure that the doors are actually locked, that nobody comes in after the doors have been locked, you know. So if there are other disturbances that go against the procedures that we have in the House, it makes it extremely difficult for the support staff to do their work.
So good to hear that things are getting back to normal. Finally, ma'am, what will you be doing in your retirement?
I go back to Pretoria. I'm going to live in Pretoria East. The main reason I am retiring is because the love of my life, my grandson Nebiyu, lives there. I'm going there, but I'm also going to try my hand at planting some food.
Well, lucky grandson, and thank you for everything you've done in Parliament, and may you go well. That was Regina Mohlomi, who is was Parliament's first female Serjeant-at-Arms. It was her very last day today.